Tarkov knockoffs, Fortnite wannabes, greedy money grabbers, and hyped up flops. This is what we've been greeted with in the past year and a half in the extraction game genre. But maybe these two tactical shooter quote-unquote extraction games won't disappoint us. This is Beautiful Light. A stalker-like tactical shooter with mild extraction elements, or maybe even a zombie-slaying PvPvE tactical shooter with a story. Beautiful Light kind of makes me think of Ready or Not mixed with Stalker. It's actually quite an intense-looking PvPvE tactical horror game. Deep Worlds, the developers, have actually had some early alpha playtests with content creators and other general populace, but that was unfortunately before I knew the game even existed. So, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you might view it, I guess, all of the gameplay footage will be coming from other content creators' videos, which I will leave down in the description below. After watching about an hour to 2 hours of gameplay on the game, I was absolutely blown away with what the state of the game looked like. The game actually looks pretty promising, so long as the gameplay loop is given a bit of purpose. It feels a little empty right now. However, the devs did explicitly state that the game was quite early alpha, so that is definitely reassuring that we have a developer that actually knows they don't have a product ready to ship yet. That brings me some confidence that the team making the game is like, yeah, this probably shouldn't be released yet, and it's super early alpha stage. So that's really good. It has been rumored that Beautiful Light could be available for open beta this year, but I wouldn't expect anything earlier than Q4, and that's if it does happen. There's been no official announcement date yet that we have, and really we don't really have much more info on the game as is, other than the gameplay that you've been viewing and the information that I've already provided with you. But if you absolutely cannot wait to get your hands on Beautiful Light, check out their Discord for ways to get involved in their closed playtests. They are available to technically anybody, however, there is a sort of application process. I'll leave their Discord down in the description below. Escape from Tarkov 2.0? Is that you, buddy? All jokes aside, this game looks way too much like Escape from Tarkov. But there are a lot of buts in this video. There are also some quite sweet tasting twists to this game that helps it differ from Escape from Tarkov, especially considering the game is based off of the original Strugatsky Brothers' book. Yes, Roadside Picnic. No idea if I said their name right, but that book is actually what inspired the original Stalker games. So interestingly enough, we have two Stalker-like games on our hands here. Seems like there's a trend. So to help you differentiate this game away from Escape from Tarkov, let's start with a tidbit of story or background of the game. So Gray Zone's story takes place on Lemang, an absolute massive abandoned island, which, by the way, the majority of will be playable area, and the island was raided by criminals. So soon after that, a private military contractor, or two or three maybe, not really sure yet, they arrived to establish their presence, and this is where the playstyle comes in. Gray Zone Warfare is a PvE extraction shooter, emphasis on the player versus environment part. But, again, for the 9th time, it is also much more than an extraction shooter. Gray Zone Warfare, referred to as Gray Zone or GZ from now on, is a more story-driven, player-controlled game. Now, what the hell does that even mean? Well, let me tell you. Matt Finger wants GZ to be discovered and explored at each player's whim. And to accomplish this, they've added some interesting mechanics. So if that doesn't make sense to you, I'll get into it a little bit further in just a second. However, basically what I'm saying is that this game is meant to be taken at each player's pace, at your own individual pace, discovered in your own way. The story completely controlled by the player. If you want full breakdowns on both games, leave a comment down below letting me know, and I'll make more in-depth videos for both Beautiful Light and Gray Zone Warfare. Moving on to factions, there will be 3 PMC factions that we know of to choose from, all of which are not necessarily in engagements with one another, but if they are in the way of your story, you have no obligation of their lives one way or another. So if they're in your way and you want to fight them, feel free to fight them. Each faction is located on a separate part of the island, which creates this interesting effect of how the story may play out for you versus somebody else. Some parts may be a simple walk down the street for you, but the exact same part may be an insane 10-mile trek across the entire island for somebody that chose a different PMC faction. One last thing that sets Gray Zone aside from Tarkov, believe it or not, is actually the health system. If you thought Tarkov was intense, wait until you play Gray Zone. With the entire game being backed by an ex-military spec ops, now private military contractor, everything about Gray Zone is going to be ultra realistic, but still very gamified, of course, because it needs to be playable. Now, as for the health system, I don't know a lot about it. What I do know is that, just like in Tarkov, there's going to be different bullet effects, armor effects, damage to specific areas of your body. Your body will be affected differently based on those different areas. However, there will also be specific bullet effects in the sense of the fact that if you are shot completely through the arm, for example, that may be major tissue damage. However, if you are shot in the arm from a long range with a handgun and the bullet breaks apart in your arm, there may be more serious damage caused by that rather than just getting ripped through the arm. Or maybe even the concussion from the bullet breaks your arm. We don't have exact details yet, but it's pretty fucking intense sounding. So the health system, quite obviously, is insanely intricate. Just be ready for much more in-depth specifications on healing yourself in the middle of battle. Madfinger's concentration on the PvE as the first element and the more story-driven focus is something entirely, absolutely fucking awesome that I am looking forward to. It's also a game made to be learned, not taught, very similarly to Tarkov. Not taught in the sense of the fact that there's no tutorial, which I personally find intriguing. Something I would absolutely love to see included in Gray Zone Warfare would be extensive hideouts, quote-unquote, or base camps, whatever, name it something else. But maybe even something like a hub you saw in the Cycle Frontier, where you might see other players running around, but also make it something personable, a camp for you to slowly build up as you go, or whatever it might be. If you like this video, check out the video I have on the death of the extraction game genre. I think you might like that one as well. But other than that, stick around for more extraction game news, and we'll talk again real soon. Peace!